kunnigaste kulturpersonligheter.
Kanske El Condor Pasa.
Svarar på dina frågor.
Förskräcklig, delvis schizofren, verbal soppa.
Jo, Melsa.
Fast å andra sidan objektifieras ju hans penis jättemycket i media efteråt.
Så är det ofta.
Fråga kultureliten. Tisdagar i 2:an.
I över 25 år har damerna i Fascinating Aida kittlat publiken med vassa tungor och säker sång. Se fram emot mycket brittisk humor nu med toner såväl på höjden som under bältet.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Due to the sudden indisposition of all three members of Fascinating Aida, at tonight's performance, the role of Liza Pullman will be played by Elaine Page. Adele Anderson will be played by Elaine Stritch. And Dilly Keane will be played by Elaine round the back of the theatre. May I please remind you to now ensure that all mobile phones are switched off. Thank you.
Turn your phone off, turn your phone off, turn your phone off, please. Turn your phone off, turn your phone off, turn your phone off, please. Turn your phone off, turn your phone off, turn your phone off, please.
Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. The artist Andy Warhol once said, famously, "One day, everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. Well, in the current rush to become celebrities, people are lucky if they get 15 seconds of fame." As in everything else, of course, we follow America. Somebody just turned their phone off, didn't they? Oh, it was that endless moment. They're going, where the fuck is it? Oh, no. And then phone, I must have. In the current rush for celebrity, people are lucky if they get 15 seconds of fame, really they are. And as I was saying so movingly a moment ago, it's going frightfully well so far. We follow America in all things, in the search for celebrity. Of course, the only difference between our celebrities and American celebrities is that ours are uglier, stupider, and quite a lot farther down the food chain. I'm going out in a see-through dress and underwear by Prada. Get myself snapped in the latest club in a very provocative pose. A very provocative pose. And if I'm not in the papers tomorrow, next night I'll try harder. Dance on the bar with Mickey Rourke, wearing even fewer clothes. Even fewer clothes. Oh, it isn't too late, it isn't too late, it isn't too late to be famous. So many people vying for space, you've really got to be shameless. Stumble out into the night, show the world me cellulite. Always smiling just like Kylie, I'm gonna be famous.
Hello! Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am sorry that I'm late, everyone. I've just jetted in from Marrakesh, where I've been having the latest Ayurvedic treatment. I've been sucking the life force out of a small Indian child. I feel much better. I'm hanging with the next generation, Kelly and Pixie and Peaches. Double bodies at Bungalow 8 with James and Elizabeth Jagger. James and Elizabeth Jagger. Snorting up and dropping some K with a couple of city leeches. Photographed by Pat from Nuts, perfecting my drunken swagger. Perfecting my drunken swagger. Oh, it isn't too late, it isn't too late, it isn't too late to be famous. Bugger the fact I've got nothing to offer, cause I'm an ignoramus. Show me tits, show me crack. Ask if Paris has got any smack. Drink a gallon with Lily Allen, cause I'm gonna be famous.
ready to sell our souls. They photographed our parts, they photographed our holes. We're aiming to be rich and stand out from the flock.
Scratch your eyes out, bitch.
There's a new kid on the block.
Oh.
What a busy day I've had. Interviews, photo shoots, personal appearances. That's because I've just launched my own perfume. I've given it a real nom de zeitgeist. It's called Bonk. That's French for bank. Topical, witty. I called it that because it smells of money. I'm on a roll, evicted from Big Brother. Get me own reality show where I find a bloke to marry. Pictured in heat, going commando, drunk in town with me mother. Hanging out at Bougie's because we both want to shag Prince Harry. Determined to shag Prince Harry. Oh, it isn't too late, it isn't too late, it isn't too late to be famous. Max Clifford has taken me on, that's what real acclaim is. Show me scars, show me tattoos, show me collapse in the public lose. News of the world, you made it, girl. I'm gonna be famous. Oh, it isn't too late, it isn't too late, it isn't too late to be famous. Having a roast with Cal and Best and both of the proclaimers.
See us here, see us there, see us bloody everywhere. Check into a clinic, don't be a silly.
It's meant to be famous.
Oh, it isn't too late, it isn't too late, it isn't too late to be famous. We want to be like Posh and Colleen, can you really blame us? It's a blast, it's a breeze, dealing with Mephistopheles. Join the fray and seize the day, hold the pose, up your nose.
Co-op Crystal with a transit pal.
Back of the limo, flash me quimmer. We're gonna be, 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 we're gonna be.
What do you mean I'm not on the bloody list?
Don't you know who I am?
Carrie! Can you get me in? Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an evening of song with fascinating Aida. And thank you as well for coming along to help us celebrate our Silver Jubilee. It's actually 27 years. It just didn't look so good on the poster. So let's kick off the show with some proper introductions, starting on my right with a woman whose face one or two of you may recognize already. Crime Watch. So would you please put your hands together and pray for the long-serving, long-suffering diva of the deep, Miss Adele, Deep Throat Anderson!
Good evening! Thank you. Thank you very much. And on your right, our very own Pocket Venus, a young woman who joined us 6 years ago when we successfully bid for her on eBay. In the words of a song, it's not Lisa with an S, it's Liza with a Z. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you, but please may we have her back later, Miss Liza Pullman.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And to my right, the Portsmouth lass whose vocal prowess has led her to bars all over the world. Like American Express, we never leave home without her. And like American Express, she's not accepted in all establishments. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you'll accept her here this evening. Please welcome fascinating Aida herself, Miss Dilly Keane.
Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be relieved to know that tonight's show isn't just going to be a long trawl through the back catalogue of old songs. We do have some absolutely fresh, newly minted, up-to-date material for you. However, when we were putting this show together, it was in fact our Silver Jubilee, and we started to compile the songs. And an anniversary like that is quite something, really, and we did look back a great deal during the compilation process. And we particularly looked back to 1983, the year that the group started, because it was a very different world then. It was a world poised on the cusp of enormous change. And of course, Adele and I were scarcely out of our teens.
And back then, it was a kinder, gentler world. Children were thin. That's because they still walked to school.
That's because you could smoke anywhere you wanted.
The average price of a house was 30k.
And it will be again next week.
Petrol cost £1.25 a gallon.
Now, what is a gallon?
For those of you who have only grown up with the metric system, this is going to make you weep. Petrol was 27p a litre.
No one had heard of iPods, laptops, Bluetooth, and people still ate spam rather than found it in their inboxes.
And a BlackBerry and an Apple were the ingredients of a crumble.
Now, in 1983, in Russia, Andropov succeeded Brezhnev.
Yes, and Margaret Thatcher allowed Ronald Reagan to site Pershing and cruise missiles throughout the UK.
CND was at its height.
And hundreds of thousands of peace demonstrators formed a human chain stretching 14 miles across southern England.
Now, is it true that you were there, Dilly?
Well, yes, I was actually, Liza. It was an incredibly emotional experience. We all held hands round Aldermaston, and many of us refused to shave our armpits for months. As a gesture of solidarity with the women of Greenham Common who found it very difficult to access toiletries.
But gestures like that really mattered back then, didn't they?
Oh, yes, indeed, on hot days in particular. You just flashed your bush and went bush and people fell over. It was the smell. I don't think the counterculture ever fully investigated the possibilities of body odour as a weapon against the establishment.
It must have been so much fun in those days.
Well, yes, it was, Liza. Oh, but I don't want you to think that it was just one non-stop whirl of clocking off and signing on. We were out there saving the world.
Yes, well we still are. Well, I like to think I'm doing my bit. I've got a compost heap. I recycle assiduously. I don't always put all the bottles in my green box. I have neighbours.
And I still buy my clothes from Primark. Well, if I didn't, those sweatshop workers in Manchester wouldn't have any jobs at all.
We holiday in Mauritius. Yes, I know it's a very long flight, but we pay our carbon offsets, so that makes it all right. Oh, we ain't got the blues. We've got those helping local economies by supporting ecotourism. Well-meaning middle-class whites.
I'm concerned about changing weather patterns. This rain has been torrential, but the speed bumps down at Waitrose make a four-wheel drive essential. Ooh, I ain't got the blues. I've got those, well, actually, it balances out because the nanny's car is tiny, socially sensitive whites.
We pay our Nigerian cleaner more than the minimum wage. Well, we feel that someone has to make a stance. But although we're deeply concerned about illegal immigration, we've got a Ukrainian couple running the house in France.
At the thought of battery farming, we invariably sicken. So we're strictly vegetarian, except
the fish and chicken. Ooh, we ain't got the blues.
We've got those wasn't it fun in the 70s when everything seemed much simpler. Morally compromised whites.
Do you know, my carbon footprint's now so minuscule it can easily slip into a pair of size 2 Manolos.
Oh, which ones did you buy?
The snake skin. I know the criminal classes suffer from social deprivation, but I'm glad that my sister's mugger got a lengthy incarceration. Ooh, I ain't got the blues. I've got those shouldn't be vindictive, but when it's family, it's different. Pro-tougher sentences, whites.
I believe that affirmative action can help to solve the race equation. But at my birthday party, I noticed that all my friends are Caucasian. Ooh, I ain't got the blues. blues. I've got those I won't let the kids buy gangster rap, but I've read them the color purple, ethnically welcoming white.
I disapprove of landmines like anyone who cares. It's disgraceful that such wicked things are made. And though we're probably selling them right now to the next Saddam Hussein, I suppose one has to protect the balance of trade. We always go national health, our GP's really super, but you never know when you'll need a new hip, so we're insured with Bupa. We ain't got the blues.
Well, to get our daughter into St. Mary's, both Tom and I have converted.
I would buy solar panels if we only had more sunshine.
Let's face it, Britain's finished, so we're moving to New Zealand. Well-meaning middle class whites.
I'm afraid before we can proceed any further this evening, I've been asked by the theatre to point out certain safety instructions, which are part of our recently defined legal obligations. So, in the event of an emergency, the exits to the theatre are here and here. Adele will be leading the evacuation as she is the tallest. She'll be carrying a large pink umbrella. In the event of such an emergency, I would ask you to form an orderly queue and then to proceed to the meeting point. That's the Royal Oak pub. It's just around the corner. Sit down, Dilly.
Liza, may I just say I think you're treating this whole affair rather too glibly, because this auditorium itself is full of potential safety hazards. May I just have the house lights up a moment, please? People, I'm coming amongst you. Now, as we know, theatres can be incredibly dangerous places. Anybody seen Phantom of the Opera? Just look above you, would you? Thank you very much. Yes. Ooh, I wonder what happened to this row here. They probably went on a day trip and they couldn't get back on the aeroplane. There we go. Right, now, let us see. Here, yes. I'm sorry, but my safety check brings me to this bag. Not you, madam. But just this little bag here. Isn't that lovely? That's exactly what an evening bag should be. Unfortunately, it's in the wrong place. What is your name, please? Carol. Now, Carol, lovely bag, but unfortunately, it just being down there is presenting a safety hazard, because if I just come along the road to, well, in fact, I only need to come here to this gentleman here. What is your name, please, sir? Bill. Are you together by any chance? Possibly. Okay. Maybe not after this, but... Well, now, Bill, if you don't mind my saying so, you look like the type of gentleman who, during the course of this performance, may wish to make an evacuation of a more personal nature. And can you foresee the scenario, ladies and gentlemen? Unfortunately, I, with my vast experience in this field, can. Bill gets up, and he doesn't quite know which, you know, when you've got to go, you don't quite know which way to go. Could easily trip over Carol's bag here and go bang, straight onto this balustrade here. And, of course, you're going to break your nose then, Bill. Well, then, of course, we'd have to stop the show, and the theatre will close pending a lengthy inquiry. Now, hopefully, Bill, your damages will be colossal, but that will mean, of course, that the theatre's public liability insurance is going to go through the roof. Probably never be able to afford to reopen ever again. Thus, Royal Berkshire will lose a valuable artistic resource, not to mention poor Bill here experiencing breathing difficulties for the rest of your natural life. And all because of Carol's poor bag emplacement. That's all I have to say about that.
Adele, I have to say that...
No, one cannot be too careful.
Oh, no, but Carol is...
There are hidden dangers everywhere.
Yes, of course. Help with a local brownie pack. My name is Alison Wright. We meet at St. Swithin's Church Hall every Thursday night. I teach the kids about kindness and doing a good turn, plus self-reliance and being prepared, which are useful things to learn. And every year we go camping in various beauty spots. The brownies get very excited. They spend ages practicing knots. I naturally get parental consent for our annual jamboree. But this year, it suddenly struck me I should phone the HSE. HSE?
Health and Safety Executive.
They explained it clearly to me. I hadn't had relevant training. The parents might very well sue me. And what if it never stopped raining? Thank heavens for health and safety. They pointed out the flaws, the myriad risks to life and limb when kids are out of doors. Their book of regulations forced me to explore all those hidden dangers which I'd never seen before. A child could skewer themselves with a tent peg,
Burn to a crisp on the campfire.
choke to death on a sausage,
Sever their leg on a tripwire.
suffocate in a mine shaft, poison themselves with hemlock,
Picnic on a wasp's nest.
plummet down much wenlock,
Sink into a peat bog. Contract TB from badgers. Be smitten with catatonia after sighting a flasher's nadger.
Thank heavens for health and safety. I needed their advice. They sent me out a flowchart which was wonderfully precise. The site-specific hazards didn't worry me unduly. But there's more to a camping holiday than singing Gingangooli.
A child could somersault into a baler, develop a case of the lockjaw,
Drown in a flooded quarry, get horribly gored by a wild boar,
stub their toe on a rucksack,
lose their mobile phone
be
case,
scorned for life by failing to win the egg and spoon race, trap their foot in a burrow, hitch a lift to the station, suffer the indignity of early menstruation.
Thank heavens for health and safety. I cancelled the trip which brought peace to me. And we spent the week sitting quietly, doing a project on obesity. Oh, the girls all loving brownies. We do have a wonderful time. And every year for a seasonal treat, we go to the pantomime. But because of the fact that our camping trip had to be aborted, a dynamic risk assessment was essential for things to be sorted. So I went alone to the theatre, and from my seat in row J, I performed a detailed inspection. And everything seemed okay. I made careful note of the exits and I planned for emergency. And then just, as a precaution, I phoned the HSE. HSE?
Health and Safety Executive.
They implied I wasn't realistic. I'd taken leave of my senses. Did I want to become a statistic? And I pondered the consequences. Thank heavens for health and safety. They brought me face to face with all the perilous pitfalls that are in a public place. They made me aware of the hazards in any theatre or hall. Apart from the obvious madness of traveling there at all. A child could die in the rush for the ice cream, cut themselves on a program,
Take offense at the mention of Christmas if they're followers of Islam,
find the confusion of gender brings on emotional trauma,
get kidnapped by the Chechens or picked on by a performer, be hauled on stage to sing a duet with little Jimmy Cranky, then smothered to death in the underskirts of Christopher Biggins Twanky.
regrets. So we spent the night with a tube of lube, putting condoms on courgettes. Oh, I take the brownie swimming. Well, I have done in the past, but after phoning the HSE, well, frankly, I couldn't be asked.
I shall never be able to eat courgettes again.
It's all very well to scoff, but those measures are only put there for our benefit, for our good, for our safety. That's because we have a kind and caring government. A caring, staring government.
In this age of anxiety, our tolerant society has reason to fear for its future. For the cities are teeming with terrorists dreaming of new ways to bomb, maim,
Or shoot you.
But with crime on the increase and standards collapsing, you're constantly filled with dismay. Take heart with your backing, your government's tracking you 24 hours a day. They care, yes they care. They care what you do, they care why, when and where. And they see every move that you're making on CCTV as you get out your cash from the hole in the wall, on the bus lanes, the junctions, and down at the mall. And on every street corner, though they're no use at all, they are there. Oh, they care, yes they care. There's no download you make of which they're not aware. Yes, they're here, and their need for your details is truly sincere. With chips in your weed, these chips in your car, and chips in your mobiles that show where you are. Don't think of these measures as going too far, for they care. They patrol, they patrol, they patrol, they patrol. They approve every act that gives them more control. They're on guard, so that's why you must have an identity card. They will frequently give you a virtual frisk, and they'll store your whole life on a neat compact disc. If they lose it, it's called an acceptable risk. They don't care. Their DNA database grows every year. Here's the plan. They're refining their spyware as fast as they can. We'll vote in their midst, so their duty is clear. If you've nothing to hide, then you've nothing to fear. You will feel more secure now Big Brother is here. Oh, they care. But you'll either lose or when interests collide, 'cause they won't let you find out what they've got to hide. All too soon you will see it's too late to decide that you care. Oh, and if you protest, you'll be branded extreme, 'cause this isn't a government, it's a regime. And they're planning the day when we can't hear you scream. Scream, scream, scream. life has got a spring. And it's summer in my heart. I thank my lucky stars that I'm so blessed. I'm glowing and I know it, but I'm happy to impart the secret of my newfound zest. I'm getting it. Yes, it's true. I'm getting it. Whoop-de-doo. Every night it's like Niagara. Why'd you think it's called Viagra? I'm getting it. How about you?
She's getting it. We're so thrilled. We don't sleep or wink while she gets drilled. She's discovered those pills by Pfizer. Now her man's an early riser. Where are the values that her mom instilled?
I'm as chipper as a chipmunk with his cheeks chock full of nuts. Why, my man's as perky as a poppin' jay. 'Cause the biff in his banana, the propulsion in his putts, means this feeling simply doesn't go away. Beat those drums. My body's a guitar that my fella strums. Life is suddenly full of promise. Life's returned to his John Thomas. I can't wait to tell my bestest chum.
That's us! We're getting it. Blow that horn. We play hide the bone from dusk till dawn. No more need to call the army. We stay home with his salami. We have used our brains to give him brawn.
We're getting it. But of course, this truly is a product we endorse. He's Roy Rogers, I play trigger. It's done wonders for my figure, but I walk like John Wayne off his horse. We're getting it yet again. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My God, that's 10. We're really much too tired to tussle his winkles turned into a muscle tie that we lay down some Nurofen. We're getting it, bugger me. Of course we did not mean that literally. It's barbaric, he's like Conan, wish he'd do it on his own and couldn't he make do with a cup of tea. We're getting it, please desist. Can't we tempt you to a game of whist? Sleepy time for Mr. Schmeckle, go away, hide and come back, Jekyll, marching orders, private pass dismissed. No use trying to get a squiffy. Slap an ice pack on that stiffy. Oh, well then one more time if you insist.
I'm saving myself for my marriage. My daddy says that's what to do. I wear on my hand a plain silver band that shows all the boys I won't screw. In chastity I'm a believer. I pledged at the purity ball. I'm saving myself and my beaver. No touching, no fondling at all. I'm saving myself for my marriage. You'll notice that I do not flirt. I never let go. God helps me say no when a chap puts his hand up my skirt. My virtues are a wonderful present for the man who will make me his fans of Fascinating Aida will be conversant with the fact that throughout the years, our commitment to world music has remained unswerving. You see, in this job we're lucky enough to travel a great deal and thus to come into contact with multiple musical mores, customs and styles. When we first toured Bulgaria, we were captivated by their folkloric tradition of spine-tingling harmonies and recherche rhythms married to plangent threnody.
Yes, of course we did struggle with the language, and so we decided to have some of their songs translated. And we were really struck by the immediacy with which they put their lives into music, as illustrated by these song titles. Eric goes to market, having hitched up the ox cart. The grain yield is down on last year, so I shall have to sell my daughter into prostitution. The gypsies are leaving for England, hurrah.
I think these song titles admirably demonstrate just how crucially relevant the songs are to the lives that they live, and thus, inspired by the curiously synchronous relevance of this relevant synchronicity, we have composed our own song cycle in the Bulgarian style, obviously with less of an emphasis on the agrarian. And yet still, I feel serving to shine a spotlight on the complex and difficult world in which we inhabit. Song number 1. May the 6th looms, and the nation waits with bated breath. Which way will Windsor vote this time?
Now campaigning has begun, the starter bell has clearly clanged. There might be a hung parliament, but sadly MPs won't be hanged.
It doesn't matter how we vote, it doesn't matter how we vote.
It doesn't matter how we vote. Hey! It doesn't matter how we vote, we're bound to get it wrong, 'cause they're all plonkers.
Song number 2. Very rarely, but just occasionally, death is a lucrative career option.
Michael Jackson, he was born a very black son. Over many years he turned quite white, looked into the mirror, died of fright.
Song number 3. Why does the Queen of Pop need a crutch to lean upon? Madonna, when you're up on stage, we can't help wondering whether there might come a day when you will, there might come a day when you will, there might come a day when,
there might come a day when you will, there might come a day when you will, there might come a day when you will, there might come a day when you will keep your legs together.
Song number 4. Across the English Channel, in spite of vicious rumors that swirl about her head, the tempestuous beauty settles down gracefully to a life of connubial domesticity.
She makes men feel swoony. She is very beautiful and glamorous, makes a lot of gentlemen feel amorous. Nothing that she does could ever cause affront, even though she's married to that Gallic runt.
Song number 5. Joan Sutherland was no oil painting either.
Susan Boyle sings like a lark, she is a talented lady. Oh, what a shame, despite her gift, her face is made for radio.
For obvious historical reasons. There is never a song number 6. Song number 7. You can't sack 'em, promote 'em. Tony Blair's got a vital job, oh Tony Blair's got a vital job, oh Tony Blair's got a vital job in which to make his mark. Bringing peace to Israel, oi, bringing peace to Israel, oi, bringing peace to Israel, just like he did in Iraq.
Thank you. As we mentioned earlier, 27 years ago, anti-nuclear demonstrators were out in force. And that's because it was the height of the Cold War, and we were all convinced we were going to be blown to smithereens at any moment. Well, here we all are, a quarter of a century later, so it's obviously a lot safer world than we thought it was going to be back then. And it's going to get even safer now that America and Russia have ratified their latest treaty. And it's comforting to know, isn't it, that in all that time, only 2 more countries have gained nuclear capability, and they are India and Pakistan. Well, Israel has the bomb, of course, although they've never admitted it. Who knows what's going on in Iran and North Korea? And we'd like to know who took delivery of all that missing Russian plutonium. Well, now, this next song was written 25 years ago. But sometimes a song is like a designer frock. Keep it long enough, comes back into fashion.
Darling, when you're sleeping, my name I hear you call out. Then you turn to me and hold me very near. But I can't help wondering what happens after fallout. Will you still love me, dear? Would you love me at all if I lost all my hair? Would you still hold my hand if my skin wasn't there? For I can't help but think you won't find me attractive when the isotopes render me radioactive. Will you whisper the sweet words I so long to hear in the hole that denotes where I once had an ear? When I'm gaunt and exhausted, unable to crow, will you love me then at all? like my smile when my teeth are all gone? Would you hold me so close in a tender embrace when I'm sprouting a cancerous growth on my face? When these eyes you have loved gently melt down my cheek, when the retching and vomiting leave me too weak, will you still feel a thrill at the sound of my name? Yes, you will, for you'll be
Thank you. And just to quote Tom Lehrer, of all the songs we've ever been asked to sing, that is the one that we have most frequently been asked not to. Well, now, I don't know if you remember, but just a little over a year ago, the government made an announcement to the effect that they're going to radically overhaul the education system in our schools, particularly in the field of English literature, and let's face it, not before time. Actually, it's not even going to be called Ing-Lit anymore. It's going to be called Inclusivity in a book sort of way. Which I think is a great deal snappier as a title and so much more encouraging for boys. And just to sum up the core curriculum, it's going to be Milton sucks, Nick Hornby rocks. Well, just to blow the collective trumpet of Fascinating Aida for one moment, I have to say that we have been rather ahead of the posse, because long before Colleen Rooney's masterwork was ever considered for the A-level syllabus, I have to say that we have been aware that our songs, well, some of our songs have been used in the field of education in ways that I can only describe as innovative and exciting. For instance, in Slough, patients leaving the STD clinic are handed a free copy of the Herpes Tango. In Datchet, children under the age of 10 are taught to sing KY as part of their sex education classes. And even here in Windsor, teenagers using the school toilets have played a rap version of Where Is Your Johnny Now, Johnny? So I do think we deserve a little bit of a pat on the back for that. Well, now, just to digress for one moment. Just a little over a year ago, about the same time as the government made their announcement, I was having a chat with a very old friend of mine, Robert Peston. And as I recall it, we were discussing the finer points of fiscal stimulus. And I asked him why he favored the classic Keynesian approach over that of the Austrian school. And he replied in some detail. And when I woke up again, I said to him, you know, the trouble with you, Robert, is when you start talking about this sort of thing on the radio or on the television or in any of your speeches, people really don't understand what you're talking about. And he said, why? Easy it my rather strange delivery. And I said, no, it's not that at all. No, it's what you're talking about. It's the subject matter itself, high finance. It's just so complex, so multi-layered. There's so much to it. People really don't understand what you're talking about. You know, well, for instance, you've got things like Wall Street and the city, and then you've got the Hang Seng and the FTSE and the bourse, and then after that you've got all the tools of the trade, or should we say the tools of the traders, things like credit default swaps and leverage and that sort of fandango. And it's just also so frightfully complex. It just goes whizzing past people's heads, and they really just shut off. They don't understand what you're talking about. And he said, well, why don't you? And I knew what he was going to say. He was going to suggest that we, Fascinating Aida, should write a song, not just a song, but one of our educational songs, explaining the basics of the markets Of course. We should have done it years ago. We could have saved Northern Rock.
It's no laughing matter. The fact is, a general understanding of the markets is essential.
Yes, you see, it guarantees that your investments reach their full potential.
So, if you're sitting comfortably, we hope you will forgive it if we start at the beginning with what's known as the derivative.
We hope you will forgive it if we start with the derivative. We hope you will forgive it if we start with the derivative. We hope you will forgive it if we start with the derivative.
Sorry, couldn't resist it. Derivatives are monetary instruments. That puts it very neatly. But unlike stocks and shares, the actual value comes from something else completely. The value of derivatives derive, you see, from value underlying and are often used to lessen risk for speculators selling and or buying. Now, value can be notional or market, and these values never meet. In addition, only market value gets recorded on the balance sheet. Oh, and a sell is not a sell, it's called a put, just as a buy is called a call. And thus, anything you call, you better put before the prices start to fall.
Oh, the markets, the dollars and the dimes. How lucky we all are to live in interesting times. The markets, it takes a lot of skill to make your lifetime savings worth absolutely nil.
So there you have it, derivatives in a nutshell. Any questions? Nope. Good. Moving on to another subject, which has been much in the news of late. And Adele has made a lifetime study of this. Adele, would you give us short selling?
My pleasure. But first, I must ask, are there any bankers in tonight? It's funny how nobody ever owns up these days. Short selling is another term which many people find a bit confusing. You could say it's a way of losing money without actually losing. Say I, let's call me A, acquire some futures at a price that's rather high. Then you, we'll call you B, will ask to borrow them without explaining why. Thus, B acquires A's futures which he doesn't own and sells them at a loss. The market's panic, prices plunge, but B is calm and doesn't give a toss. Since B will now repurchase them at half the price when A will get them back. And B then trousers all the profit from the loss and ends up in the black.
Oh, the markets are not for the faint-hearted. A fool and his investments are very quickly parted. The markets, we will admit they've thrown us. How curious, and many bankers still receive a bonus. Sterling work, Adele.
Thank you.
Well, shall we have a quick Q&A? Was Adele A, or was she B? A, very good, yes she was. And did she make a profit or a loss? Yeah, not so clever now, are we? No, she didn't make a profit or a loss. She simply got back her original investment. You see, the profit was made by B, and that's you. Oh, do try to keep up.
Yes, come along, people. We're getting to the exciting bit now. Liza's going to whisk you through hedge funds, long positions, and that old chestnut arbitrage. Liza,
Thank you, darling. A hedge fund, as its name suggests, will spread the risk to better hedge its bets. They will buy distressed securities from companies who struggle with their debts. In fundamental growth or sector funds, they may well opt for long positions. And through many types of arbitrage, they'll build up an array of acquisitions. Now, arbitrage itself as an effective fiscal tool has much attraction, as in when a hedge fund makes a killing in a clever synchronous transaction. Say they see the price of carrot futures lower on the FTSE than the bourse. They buy in London, sell in Paris, make a pile, and Froggy comes off worse. Oh, the markets, they lead us to despair. What with bankers talking bull and the cupboards nearly bare. The markets, each trader's a magician. If his dealings lead to losses, he still gets his commission.
Well, I think that's just about as much as this lot can take in. No, but seriously, tell me honestly, did you understand any of that? I thought not.
Well, that's the point. They don't want you to understand it.
But the terrifying thing is, it's now obvious they don't understand it.
Hell, we wrote the song. We don't understand it! So what, I hear you ask, exactly is the reason for the credit crunch?
The fault lies with the banks, whose senior personnel are frankly out to lunch.
Well, they'd invent new ways to borrow so that we would borrow more to keep on spending.
Then they borrowed from each other to facilitate the unsupported lending.
So now the government has bailed them out with money that it simply doesn't have. It's just the same as if they took our bloody taxes and then flushed them down the lav. With the result that we and future generations will be forced to work like coolies. So if you ever meet a banker, it's your duty to divest him of his ghoulies. Oh, the markets, disease with debts like cankers, which leads us to conclude that the bankers are all wankers. The markets, so complex and obscure. It's 'cause no one is accountable, we're all in the manure. Oh, the markets where the likes of Bernie Madoff have created lots of paupers and caused thousands to be laid off. The markets, where did it all go wrong? It began with subprime mortgages, but that's another song. So now, what have we learnt from that little song? Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, I hope what we can all see perhaps a smidge more clearly now is that the current world financial situation is still pretty dire. I think we're very far from being out of the woods. Actually, the irony is that as